Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press, joins us now from Vermont for a look at where things stand. Philip, welcome back to the show. So it seems the Dems have a new frontrunner in Joe Biden. How do you think he was able to turn this campaign around?
Well, I'd say essentially there are three reasons why Joe Biden can be very much described as the comeback kid on this Super Tuesday. First of all, there is that fear within the Democratic Party, and mainly the Democratic Party establishment, as Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders would certainly put it, that Bernie Sanders, could not win against Donald Trump in November, that someone who calls himself a democratic socialist simply wouldn't have a chance to win in the presidential election in November. The second reason is simply what has been happening over the last few days, with Joe Biden getting the support of pretty much every other Democratic presidential candidate who got out of the race over the last few days, the likes of Pete Buttigieg, Beto O'Rourke, Amy Klobuchar, all of them endorsing Joe Biden for the Democratic Party nomination absolutely made an important difference. And then maybe in third place is the fact that Joe Biden, among all of those victories that he got yesterday, many of them were in the South, where there is a very large number of African American voters who traditionally are with the former vice president, and they showed that again yesterday. Those are some of the reasons why Joe Biden got such good results yesterday on Super Tuesday.
Well, Philip, Bernie Sanders is still in the hunt. What are you hearing from his campaign?
Well, look, it's mainly a disappointment, really, though the campaign is putting on a brave face, and they have reasons to explain why things aren't looking terrible for them. After all, they won here in the senator's home state of Vermont, handsomely, of course. More importantly, they won in California as well. That was the biggest prize of Super Tuesday, though that didn't necessarily give Bernie Sanders the delegate lead that he was expecting beforehand. So more than anything, yesterday at his election night rally here on the outskirts of Burlington, we got a sense of frustration and disappointment. His supporters were waiting for hours to hear from their presidential candidate, the man that they want to see as the nominee for the Democratic Party, and he only gave a very short speech, though he did say he was confident of getting that nomination and confident of winning against Donald Trump in November. But I think chances are pretty high that within the campaign there are fewer people who truly believe that right now.
Oh, Philip, we talked a lot about the tension within the Democratic Party between the moderates and the progressives, and it really does appear this has essentially become a two-person race split between those two viewpoints. Who do you think we should keep an eye on in the days ahead?
Well, we'll be keeping an eye on the candidates who are just about still in the race, but more than anything, we'll be looking at what Mike Bloomberg does next. The former mayor of New York City has already departed the race. He has endorsed former Vice President Joe Biden. But what we really want to know now is what is he going to do with his enormous masses of money that he had promised he would put toward whoever the Democratic nominee would be. So we expect Bloomberg to put a lot of that money toward Joe Biden. Then, of course, there are still other candidates in this race, but only just. Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, the congresswoman, is still in this race, but did very badly on Super Tuesday. There doesn't seem to be much of a reason for her to remain in this race. And then, of course, Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts had a disastrous Super Tuesday, losing her home state of Massachusetts, not just to Joe Biden, but also to Bernie Sanders. There isn't really much of a road out of this for her, so we'll be keeping a very close look at what exactly her campaign decides to do. And from there on in, we essentially expect this to be very much a two-horse race going forward.
Well, Philip, any final thoughts? Kind of where do we go from here?
Well, I think essentially what we're looking at here is a two-person race, a two-man race, and two men, of course, in their 70s as well, which is not necessarily what we were expecting to see a few months ago when the Democratic Party was so proud that they had the most diverse field in the history of the nominating contest. Now, where we're looking next is, well, pretty much everywhere, because all of these next few nominating contests will be important. There are a bunch of new primary states that will be voting in just a week's time. A week after that, Florida, for example, might be one of the biggest prizes. So we'll have our eyes on all sorts of states coming up. This race is not over yet, that is for sure.
All right. Well, Philip, thank you again, as always, for your insight. Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press. Thanks again.
Thank you.